How's everyone doing? Just a quick video to show you guys how I mark my logo. Basically, in the equipment I use. It's a bit of a DIY system. Now, the etcher was made from plans from Ernie's website, ernieknives.com. So if you want to see the plans for this etcher, the schematic, you can see everything on his website. It's a pretty simple AC/DC etcher, bridge rectifier in there, centre tap transformer, running the 12 volts, not running the 24. I tried the 24, decided it's too powerful. Got used to the 12 volts. So that's pretty much the etcher. Nice simple setup. Turn her on, then AC into EC. Put the cover back on. Now, I've tried a few different ways of marking my logo. My logo is quite spindly in places. Basically, Ernie supplies these templates here, photoresist paper. Can't remember the prices, but very good value for money. Will ship to the UK. For the guys in the US, obviously it's made in the US. If you want to have a look, Ernie, give the guy a call. You know, he'll help you out, sort some templates out, some stencils. So what do? The first thing I do, I make sure I have a fresh felt pad for every single batch. I've tried reusing the felt pad. It just gets dirty, clogged up. You know, it's just good practice, really. The knives themselves, these are heat treated, tempered. These are ready to go out pretty much. The logo and having a paracord wrap, larger version of my Trooper. May have seen the other day. So the first thing I do with the blades is clean the surface of the blade with an alcohol solution. What this does, this kind of removes any greases or anything from your fingerprints which could affect the etch for the logo. Clean the location where the logo is going to go. I'll probably only do the one for the video, and obviously dry it off as well because the alcohol may affect your stencil. We don't want that doing. So I've already got a stencil. I'm not going to start a fresh one. This stencil has been used a few times, still pretty good. So the first thing I do, and the next thing I do, should I say, is locate the stencil where I want it. Now, normally I have a referencing point which goes out of shot a second. The referencing point, I either go off centre to the firework or on the centre of the firework, if there is any firework. And obviously it just gives me a reference point for every single knife. The logo location varies ever so slightly. Now I tape off. Now I've seen some guys, they recommend using electrical tape, purely because obviously it is a plastic or PVC tape and it won't let any water through. Now the reason for that is if any of the electrolyte goes through this paper with an electrical current, it will mark the other part of the blade. The thing I found is basically just try not to get any on that part of the blade. I prefer the masking tape. It's easy to remove, it doesn't stick too much to the stencil, and it's just easy to clean up. My electrolyte, I have tried several different electrolytes and different mixes, homebrew, and the best one I found is salt water, saturated salt water. I prefer to do it in warm water, it's personal preference. Move this tape out of the way, turn her on. So the first thing, obviously, I've got the salt water pre-made, nice handy yogurt pot. Saturate the pad in the solution. Now you have to make sure that the salt will no longer dissolve in the solution. You have to make sure the solution is fully, saturated with the salt. It helps the electrical transfer. Now you always begin on the DC. The DC is what etches the steel, it removes the steel. I've watched again several different videos, different ways of doing it. Mike Schnody, you all may know. I find his methods best. So 20 bursts, 21-second bursts. You lift off to release any gases, which could again affect the etch. Stop the electrical transfer. To begin the etch, it's pretty simple. I've lost count. Resaturate that. Fine as well, keep the pad saturated, because obviously there's only a certain, the way I wrap this just with tape, I could use an elastic band, the moisture is obviously going to run up the felt, which is bound up behind the tape, so we need to make sure we're keeping that electrical contact between the two parts. You probably won't see this on camera, but it is fizzling down here. I'm not too sure how many I've done. I like to have a nice deep etch, especially, I mean, these blades are going to be stone washed, acid etch, stone washed, so I like to have the deeper etch because it makes it more pronounced through the etch, and it just, you know, it's nicer and it gives a nicer appearance. So now you'll see there's a bit of build up. See if we can zoom in there. A bit of build up and moisture on there. Now we've obviously, I think I've gone over 20 now. So what we've basically done now is we've removed material behind the stencil in the exposed areas, so we've created a cavity in the steel. And the reason we have the AC is it basically puts carbon back into the material, into the channel we've created, to give it the black lines. Again, I'll do this around about 20 times, so give some burst. I can feel it fizzling. I know when to lift off pretty much. Pretty boring, really. It's really fizzle now. What I've also found as well, I mean, this is my second set of stencils from Ernie. When I first started working with this etcher, I tried the 24 volt system, and I found I was generating an awful lot of heat. I mean, the blades, there's warmth through the back of the blade, and it was basically burning out the stencils. I was getting burnout around the edges, especially on where the two chevrons where my logo meet. Out of shot there, look, just in the centre point there. I was getting a lot of burnout at that point, the stencil. Thus wasting a stencil, really annoyingly, and it would also ruin the logo. So we'll give it a couple more times. I can't remember where we are. Now, sometimes I have a look. The problem is once you peel it, if you don't put it back down where it came from, you can create a shadow, or you can basically mis-etch the logo. So I'll peel it very gently just to see if I've been successful. No, it looks like a good etch. So what I do now is take it off. The first thing I do, I would normally do, I'm not going to do it just now, throw the tape away. Tape costs nothing. So I give the stencil a light clean just to remove any of the dirt and basic steel particles that are on there, and I will wash that basically as per Ernie's instructions. We do a fairy liquid between your forefinger and your thumb, just basically to work through the actual stencil and remove any of the salt solution or the dirt that's on there. So what we're left with, let's turn this off, left with the logo on a blade. Now you will probably see there's a bit of a bit of shadowing there. Now it's probably bled through underneath the stencil. I probably didn't have it flat enough. The key I found is, obviously, especially with the salt solution, salt will eat the steel. It will cause it to rust. Now you have to basically clean and neutralise that. Now I use the NE2 solution from Aaron Baxter in the UK. I've tried their etcher. I'm not going to slate it. It just doesn't seem to work with this system. I imagine, you know, I might be doing something wrong, but I'm going to stick with the salt solution because it works. So what I do is I clean this solution off, and the key is you've got to get this solution off. You have to keep doing it. So I give it a good clean, and then you look at the grime on there, look, give it a very, very good clean, and then what I do again, throw it away, fresh bit of rag. And this is from experience. I've seen these rust. You know, I've gone away, left a perfect blade in the workshop, which again is probably not the best because it's cold and damp here in the UK. Gone away from the workshop, and what's happened is all around the logo, especially where there's a shadowing, where obviously there's a bit of bleed out, just rusted away. You know, it's just got loads of surface rust all around there. And the problem is, once the rust is set in, especially you imagine there's a crater there, you can't really get that rust out without wire wheeling it or grinding it back. So the moment the rust is in there, it's in there, you know. You need to make sure you get it out, you know, you neutralise all the solution you have there. So I've done it with the cleaner. Throw the other pad away. Again, more cleaning, the next step, back to the alcohol. Some people might say this is overkill, but it's just the way I do it. And the video died. Great. Good job I caught that one. So yeah, what I do from obviously etching the logo is I go over with a flat sanding block over the surface, and that basically cleans up and crisps those lines up around the logo. And again, to make sure there's no problems with this, go back to the alcohol. Can never be too careful. I hate it. I hate ruining a blade, especially after all the hard work. And so it has a pretty good etch. It's not perfect. Not perfect. It could be better. But come on, focus, you silly thing. It's not going to focus, is it? No. Okay. You just about see the logo there. Now these are the steps I go through. Just nice and simple. The etcher cost me around about £50 to make. I bought all the components from RS Components, pretty much. Some of the bits I had, you know, the terminals, some of the switches. So I mean, I imagine if you had to buy all the parts, you're probably looking at around about £60 to £70 to make that etcher. You can buy some sometimes second hand on eBay, but again, you know, where's the fun in that? You know, it's always nice to have a go, do it yourself, and learn something new. That's how I do my logos. Eventually, you never know, I may move over to some sort of stamp, but pretty happy with the etcher and the final product, and that's it. I'll put a picture up in a second.